Welcome to the Sales Queen podcast, where we teach women how to turn their skills into sales and monetize their message so they can finally sell with the clarity, confidence, and certainty that they've always wanted to. No longer does the game of sales need to be an old boys club. It's time for you to sell like a queen. What's up, everybody? Coach Megan Rhodes here with my husband, Landon, and I'm super excited to be chatting with you all today with my husband. We're really excited. How's it going, babe?
What's up, everybody? It's going well.
Great. So first and foremost, some people are new. Some people, I guess, don't stalk us on social media. So yes, my last name is now Rhodes, and this person that you'll be hearing from is the reason. So Landon, why don't you first and foremost just kind of give the crowd a brief overview of who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So as she said, my name is Landon. I am a video production agency owner and also a coach of creatives. So I help creatives build multi-6 and seven-figure video businesses. I grew up in a little farm town called Exeter, Nebraska, and I love entrepreneurship. That's a little about me.
Awesome. What would you say is one thing that most people don't know about you? And then why don't you tell everybody your Enneagram type?
I am an Enneagram 8 wing 7. Flex
Sound
into
familiar?
An 8 wing 9. Flex into an 8 wing 9, probably. And something that not very few people know about me.
Mm-hmm.
Something that very few people know about. I don't really talk about this a lot, but I love to game. I love video games. I love turning my brain off at the end of a really long day with just mindless shooters on Xbox, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's actually a really good segue to talking about habits, because if anybody's married on here, you probably have some husbands that like to play some video games. And sometimes it can be really hard to balance because life is hard and life throws you some curveballs sometimes. And it is easy just to kind of want to check out. We both know that as entrepreneurs that sometimes you just want to run away because you have to have a pretty big backbone to run companies and deal with people and clients and all the things that go wrong on a daily basis. So Landon, why don't you start with talking about when in your life did you start to really care about habits and why are they important in your opinion?
Yeah. So habits really weren't even a thing that I really understood or had good habits at all until I was probably 22, 23, which is wild to think because I feel like, our kids and people that are just younger, they're just exposed to that stuff a lot sooner. So I was exposed to it. My parents had incredibly good habits. My mom and dad both are some of the most consistent people in the world. So maybe, excuse me, maybe I knew what habits were, but I didn't necessarily say, oh, I have good behaviors or I have good habits. I just am. All right, I do. But I would say 22, 23 is where it really started to kick in because that's where I found my love for entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So with that being said, what do you think is the thing that gets people to care about habits? For you, it was entrepreneurship, but dive a little bit deeper. Why did that awaken that in you?
Yeah. So people only change for a couple different reasons. It's either because of trauma. So something negative, something bad that causes them to change, or it's desire for something more. So those are the only real reasons that people change. And I would say that I experienced a realignment of desires after I I got out of college and started working a 9-to-5 job. And I was in a call center, a customer support center, working for a really cool, innovative tech company, and loved my job. I was super good at my job, but my boss kind of walked over one day and she caught me reading a book in a corner of my window, in my screen. And she's like, so what are you going to do when you leave here one day? And I was like, what do you mean? And I thought I was getting fired at that point. And she said, no, like, what are you going to do when you leave? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I want to take Isaac's job because he was the top support rep, and that's what I want to do. And she's like,
Mm,
you're not. And she basically, in a roundabout way, said, you're not supposed to work in a place like this when, like, you as a person, you're supposed to go build a place like this. And then she like walked away
mm,
from my desk, and that was like one of the most pivotal moments of my life, like hands down, life-changing event. And that I had somebody that recognized something in me that didn't have any sort of like, she actually had the opposite of
motive.
benefit of telling me that. Yeah, like a
Mm-hmm.
reverse motive. So like for her to say, you're good, go like leave our company, like obviously people don't do that. But she had been in the game long enough to recognize, she's a phenomenal boss and a great manager too. She had been in the game long enough to recognize that when people are born for more, there's not a lot you're going to do to keep them around. So you might as well like leverage the best of them while they're there, sort of thing. Kind of
Yeah.
like a football coach, you know, like college football coaches only get like 4 years, right? They don't get 10, 20-year careers like some NFL coaches do. So I think
Yeah.
that's the way that she looked at me. And that caused like a really like big change, big desire shift in me.
Super cool. I think right now, we're recording this the very, very end, like last day of January. And this will come out a month or two from now. But I think in the winter season, um, a lot of people are feeling a lot of different emotions. And I think at the time of us recording this, people are already giving up on their goals. They're already getting discouraged. I know we're human. We have conversations, in the morning and in the evenings about what's going on in our world. What have you found to be strategies that work to help you keep going and help you keep implementing strong habits and just like to take care of yourself through the seasons that are kind of hard and where you might feel stuck? Like, what have you found to be successful for you?
Yeah, we were just having a conversation about this the other day. Like you have to have your floor. Like you have to have the things that you do no matter what's going wrong, or what's
Mm,
going right in your life. So it's kind of like you know, Tony Robbins says you don't get what you want out of life, you get what your standards are. And like you may want something, but if your standard is not to achieve it, then you won't get it. And so Megan knows this really well. And this was something like when we first started dating, I think was kind of a big shift for you. Like, it's not that I want to work out 6 days, 5 days a week. It's my standard to work out 5, 6 days a week. Like it doesn't change. And I will do push-ups in my office, do air squats until I'm drenched in sweat, whatever I have to do. But it's my standard that I am exercising 5 to 6 days a week because it's tied to my mental health. It's tied to what makes me feel good and feel human. So I would just think one thing that I would say on that is like it's a matter of like figuring out what it is for you that makes you like the better version of yourself, and then narrowing that down to like one common denominator. So like you and I talked about this the other day, Megan, like water is a thing for you. So getting a half gallon to a gallon of water every day is like a
mm-hmm,
really, really great anchor habit. It's an anchor is what it is. It's an anchor habit that like no matter what happens in life, like you can still do that.
mm-hmm.
8 hours of sleep. I don't get 8, I get 7. And that's like perfect for me. So 7, 8 hours of sleep, half gallon of water, and cold exposure in the morning, whether it's cold plunge, cold shower. Like if I do those three things, most of the time, my day is set off on a track to where like I'm in control and things are going to be good.
Yeah. I think for me, it is not getting on social media or email for like 2 hours in the morning, like as long as humanly possible.
Hmm.
I think it's for me more of, what I don't do. And then I get in
Hmm.
the word, I go to the gym, and I think just like letting my mind have space, because one of the best ways that I've ever heard it put is that we are like containers, and
Hmm.
whatever you fill it with is whatever you have to pour out. And I think there's a common misconception that if you don't fill yourself up with goodness, positivity, and the things that make up your value system, it is really, you're just fooling yourself that you have that to pour out, you know? And It's really that simple. Like on the days that I don't spend time with the Lord in the morning, they're chaos, and little things bother me way more than they normally would, because I didn't fill myself up with peace. And, you know, things are going to happen regardless because it's life. But are you equipping yourself with an armor every single day to handle them? Or are you just trying to grab them, you know, and like just handle it on your own and take it by the horns of your own strength? And that's a lot to ask yourself to live up to. So that's what I've learned in my life, is I have to oftentimes eliminate and set boundaries. And then I have my, you know, core tenets of things that I know make me the person that I not even necessarily am, but want to be and choose to be.
That's good. We, you know, I had that happen today, and I've just been realizing this too, that if I don't get that time, even 15, 20 minutes in you know, in the word in the morning, it's like, I don't know, I don't know how you describe this, but it is like a feeling of like emptiness, or like there's something missing from your day. And I don't, yeah, since I didn't have the habit for as long as you did so far, I don't think it affects me as much. But as I go into like really good seasons where like I'm very diligent about that, I'm very disciplined with that, I feel a day when I don't do it, because you're just not connected to that vine. So yeah,
That's
I
a
would say
really good
that
word. And that's a really good
uh,
word in general, I think, because like I was on with a client, you know, I had several clients every day, whatever, but I was on with a client today who was feeling particularly stuck in a situation. And that's one of the first things that maybe subconsciously I told her to do, is I actually said, hey, did you listen to the Powerhouse Club training with my husband? And she's like, no, not yet. So I told her to go listen to what you said, and talking about doing, I love what you said about doing the thing that your mind and your body don't want to do in the morning, because then you prove that you have control over your mind and your body. And I think that's like one of the most beautiful and profound things I've ever heard, because it is so true. Because if you don't do that, you know, the Bible talks about like letting the spirit control the flesh rather than the flesh control the spirit. The flesh always tries to do what it wants. The flesh will always prioritize the flesh.
yeah,
And so go ahead.
the flesh wants to eat McDonald's and take, you know, like an even meal. Like I obviously, like I enjoy the effect of a cold shower or like a cold plunge, but no one enjoys that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not that like you want to do that. It's that you desire the
You
feeling that
choose.
comes with, yeah, you desire the personal integrity that you get with yourself, or like that you earn with
Amen.
yourself after making that hard decision. And like I have to encourage creatives every day to go make cold calls and to go you know, ping their market for new business. They hate
Mm-hmm.
doing that. They would
Mm-hmm.
much rather sit in their dark room and edit video all day rather than go make phone calls. And like I'm no different. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
make systems for yourself. And if you don't have a habit that's built up, you have to like structure systems to make the habit happen.
Say that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Y'all better rewind that and play it again,
Mm-hmm.
because you rise and fall to the level of your systems, right?
Bingo.
I think that you and I just blew up a very common misconception, because I think, and I've fallen in this trap previously, I would say that if we were to take a poll, you can tell me if you disagree or agree. I think if we were to take a poll, I would think that most people who maybe are going through a tough season, who are lacking in their habits, who feel stuck, who don't know how to get to the next level of success, whatever, I would guess that if they were to take a poll, they would answer that people like you and I, and people that we all look up to, that this is like their personality, to work hard, to do the things, to be detailed, to put their flesh down, you know, whatever you want to call it. I bet that people would say, oh, well, that's just the way. Megan's always been that way. Landon's always been that way. When in reality,
No.
it's just a freaking decision, like honestly. And I hope, and I don't say that to be harsh. I actually say that to liberate people, that like, you know, it's just a decision. You've got to make it up in your mind that this is the line in the sand, and that my life's not going to look like this anymore, that I'm going to expect more from myself. You know, I was actually just talking with a 17, one of my clients before this, she's a teen. And she said the most profound thing I've ever heard in my life. And I was asking her about her platform, which is about mental health and whatever. And I said, how did you decide to be okay? She goes, well, I just decided that it was actually more work to stay where I was and feel sorry for myself.
That's good.
Than to
That's
just
so good.
decide that I wanted to be better. And I was like, I'm sorry, how old are you?
How old are you?
I literally was
Yeah.
I was like, what? And she just said it like it was nothing. But that's it. We massively overcomplicate the things it actually takes to be a successful person, to be a powerful person, to be an influential person. When in reality, it comes down to, can you master the boring things, and can you do things when you don't feel like it? And I'm sorry, you just have to make a decision. It's that simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is the simplest thing in the world. Go ahead, babe.
Yeah. So this might be a little darker than you're expecting to go, but we're going to go there because it's really important information.
Okay.
So I was just listening to this video about a guy talking about how money makes your decisions for you. And anyone that doesn't believe that is lying to themselves. And it was very like eye-opening for me. And so you talk about how like it's a decision, and like you're right. You're like, I'm agreeing with you 100% in that. And he was talking about how money has the ability to make decisions for you. And that's really scary because being out of control for us as eights, obviously, is one of the scariest things ever. And so like, he uses some dark examples, so just bear with me, guys, for a second. So he talks about his mom,
trigger warning,
who has trigger warning. So he talks about his mom who has MS, and he's like, my mom has MS, and she hasn't been able to walk in a couple years, so she's now confined to a scooter, and she has to roll around her house in a scooter, and everywhere she goes she has to drive a scooter. And even the smallest little step on the sidewalk can stop her dead in her tracks of where she wants to go. And now people would most of the time say, well, that's the circumstance, that's medically a medically induced problem, or a medically unsolvable problem, or whatever. And he said, but if you have the money, there's things you can do. There's experimental surgeries you can try. There's experimental things you can do. So what he did is he went to a research center where they were injecting stem cells into people with MS. And he's like, it's $7,500 per IV bag. Wow. And it happens once a quarter. He's like, if I didn't have that money made the decision for me to not do that. Wow. And so there are circumstances that are going to be out of your control. And so whether it's like connecting that back to your passion, or whether it's connecting it back to like your reason why you work so hard in business or in life, like you don't want to be out in a position to where you can't make those really important decisions to help your family, or to have that impact on a specific person that you're trying to impact. And so what he ended up saying is like $7,500 later, after a couple sessions, he said that she was able to stand up without holding on to the side of a table. So she was standing up from this wheelchair, or from the electric scooter, alone, without the help of, standing against like a counter or something. He's like, what's that worth to you? And obviously it's everything, right? Like it's something that special. So what I think causes people to not feel the drive or that motivation in the next level is they haven't gone dark enough to understand what the worst case scenario could be, or they haven't had enough
pain.
They haven't had enough pain. Right. And that's what I'm getting at, is they haven't connected with the potential of that negative result, or they haven't connected with the potential of the really positive desire.
Yeah.
And you can either go dark, or you can, like, they talk about it people talk about this all the time. It's like dark energy or light energy. Obviously that's very dark. That's very sad, depressive, but it moves you. It causes you to act, and it causes you to demand what we've been talking about this whole time, which is a higher standard for yourself.
And I think like one thing that's really important, especially since we have a younger audience listening here, is like, hopefully it's obvious, but disclaimer, we're not saying go create trouble for yourself and go do stupid things that cause pain or bad things to happen. Obviously not. Okay. But what we are saying is, what I'm saying, I won't speak for you, I think that especially our generation and younger, I think that they live in this fairy tale world of comfort where, and I live here sometimes as an Enneagram 7. I don't want to feel those negative emotions. I don't want to feel out of control. I don't want anyone to control me. I want to protect myself from betrayal. Like, I find myself doing this. I don't, you can ask my husband, you guys, like, I don't like to sit in sadness. Neither does Landon, like we're pretty like go, go, go people. And usually we'll find a way to channel that energy into like work or working out or whatever. Right. But like, that's the day-to-day stuff. But what I will say is that Landon and I both have faced the reality and processed very much the things that we've been through. And stuff happens to everybody. So yes, are there a 1% of people maybe that have $1 billion and somehow a perfect family and a relationship with the Lord? Yes, I'm sure that there is a family, probably one or two in the whole world, right? But nobody's life is perfect. And what I encourage you guys to do, especially as you are developing your platforms, your businesses, whatever you're doing in your life, I encourage you to make sure that you're not just like allowing life to pass you by, but like when things happen, you are journaling about it or talking to a friend about it or talking to a therapist about it, because in the process, you learn so much about yourself. And I will say that this comes by taking massive imperfect action too, which we preach all the time. Like, things are going to go good, things are going to go bad, right? You're going to fail, you're going to succeed. And so like pain doesn't always have to be like something that's unsafe or like trauma. It can even just be like failure. It can be like, hey, you actually tried your whole butt towards something and just wasn't good enough. Just like, sorry, they picked somebody else. You didn't get the job. You didn't, and you have to like journal through and think through. And for us, like we sit with the Lord and we say like, God, why is this happening? Like, why is this happening to me? I don't want to be in this place anymore. I'm sick of transitioning. I'm sick of like being in the wilderness again. Like, can it just be time for me? Can it just be time for my breakthrough? And those are the couple things. Those are the days where, honestly, like when you're at the bottom, you figure out who the rock is at the bottom. You also grow a backbone to be able to go through hard things. You find out who your real people are. You find out who's incredibly fake and selfish. And when you allow God to use that, it's going to be the stepping stone to ultimately what becomes your message, right? Cliche as it sounds, your mess becomes your message. And it is so true. There's a reason why, go study this. There's a reason why entrepreneurs, 99.9% of the time, unless they're like in tech where there's like no emotion towards why they're doing what they're doing or whatever. Okay. But like if you're an entrepreneur who owns a company, 99% of the time you are serving a former version of yourself. Why? Why does that happen? That happens because that is who God has given us such an insurmountable compassion for. Why do I want to help pageant women? Why do I want to help female entrepreneurs? Why do I want to specifically help people find their voice and get on stages to tell their story? Because I've been through all of those seasons, and those are the hardest seasons of my life. And those are the things that I know how to get somebody through, right? And so I want to encourage everybody listening that if you're like, gosh, why can I not just make my bed in the morning? Why am I not connecting in my pageant? Why is my business not growing? Honestly, I would encourage you to spend time alone, learn how to spend time alone, journaling your thoughts, praying, and thinking about your life, thinking about like, chances are your mess, the things that you've been through are what make you really interesting. And even if you are younger and you haven't had doesn't feel like you've had any big major event, if you actually start to pay attention to your emotions, I think that you'll find that you go through more than you think that you do. You just haven't like opened up that third eye, if you will, to like really see and be present as things are happening. So that's what I have to say about that. And that would be my greatest advice to people, to fuel that passion, stoke the fire, and kind of get going again to do the hard things. What do you think, babe?
Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is required. If you are even like the fact that you have, so how do I phrase this right? If you have an opportunity to even think about these things, and have the opportunity to, again, like I always go back to like, what could my situation look like? Well, it's possible that I couldn't have a bed. There's people in the world that sleep on the ground. There's people that sleep in mud huts. I have the opportunity to really chase down my full potential today. I have the opportunity to make my bed. It's a reframe in your mind. And it's changing it from I have to do this thing, instead saying, rather than I have to do this thing, it's I get to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I go back to that verse in the Bible, to whom much is given, much is required. If you've been given this unique opportunity, if you have your, 4 or 5 senses, like you have a very, very important role to play on this earth. Like, to whom much is given, much is required. Like, God's expecting a lot out of you. And it's requisite for you to go figure out what that is. And if you haven't connected with that, that should be your number one responsibility as a human being, because you're here for a reason and you have something that the world needs. It's your job to unlock that and then go help the world do it. But the longer you wait around, not like kind of basically just like sitting on that gift, I look at it as you're kind of squandering it. Like you're not being a good steward of what you have been given. And so a lot of times not connecting with that, when you're struggling to connect with your purpose, it's rooted in more selfish behavior than anything, because truly like selfless behavior is like, I know for a fact that I can go out there and inspire somebody. I know for a fact I can help my state, my city, my district, wherever I'm at. So why am I not doing it? And like, it requires more of you. And so I just think that that's when you're having trouble, and I've been there, like I'm not perfect at this by any means. Like I've struggled in the past connecting with my purpose as well. And Megan knows this, deal with a ton of imposter syndrome. And so I have to constantly look back and be like, oh yeah, I can actually help solve these problems. I can help people out of this mess that they're in, like with my eyes closed. And so that's something that I've learned is like, if you're struggling to get motivated, it's probably because you haven't recently connected to your purpose or reminded yourself of the purpose that you used to have. So, that's a really good way to get back to it.
Amen, honey. Yeah. I love what you said about, if you haven't connected to your purpose, that could be why, basically you're feeling unmotivated, you're feeling dry. Like that comes down to everything. And whether I'm coaching a pageant girl, or whether I'm helping somebody start their business or their speaking career, it's all the same thing.
It's all the same.
It's your message, baby. And ain't nobody else going to tell it but you, even if you're creative, like Landon coaches, you have a unique lens, a unique niche. Well, why did you choose that niche? Why do you want to serve those people? Probably because something happened to you in your life where you have a love for those people, Landon and I like to say, you'll never have authority over what you don't love. And that is such a gut check. Like if you're genuinely not, doesn't mean that you have to be in love with what you're doing all the time. Like not every day I wake up and I'm like, I want to do QuickBooks. You know what I mean? Like that's not how it works. But I always love the people. And whenever I need to find motivation on the inside of me, I'm like, well, who's going to help these people if I don't, Ain't nobody can serve them as good as I can.
I have a note on that. I always think about people that own like trash companies when I think about that. Like they don't love trash. And they may not even like have a passion for sanitation. Like that's not it. No. It's that the world needs the service and they love providing opportunities for people who may be down on their luck. And that's the only job they can really get right now. They love connecting with people maybe who just got out of prison. Maybe they've fallen on hard times. They're massively financially, mentally, emotionally bankrupt. And maybe they love helping pull those people out of the depths by giving them a job.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of owning your message and creating a business around it, whether you're, again, a pageant girl becoming a speaker, or whether you're a business owner, or whether you're a creative. Like when you take ownership of your, let's just call it your message, right? and you decide what the vision and the mission of that company as the foundational solopreneur. You get to decide what that is. You get to differentiate your trash company from this trash company. And maybe that is a part of your mission statement, which gets you there to have it light your heart on fire. And that's what's so cool about being a leader, and why I encourage all of my pageant girls to become entrepreneurs, or to at least monetize their speaking careers, because you're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars, in my opinion, and you can learn it in a very simple system with the communication skills that are already on the inside of you. And most people, if you've gone through literally anything, you can create a monetizable message around it. And some people might say, oh, that's just so selfish, I want to give everything for free. That's your prerogative. Like, get down with your bad self, do whatever you want, right? But at the end of the day, you got to have gas money to drive to the place, to do the thing. You got to have clothes on your back. So I don't care if you charge $30, whatever, but I believe that God puts a seed on the inside of us, and that seed is called to grow if we water it. And so I'm just saying, it ain't selfish to charge for something that you had to pay the school of hard knocks to go through to get to where you are today. Go ahead, honey. You had something to say.
I heard something today that blew my mind, and I never thought about it like this. I think I was listening to a podcast, it was yesterday morning. And it's the podcast was talking about people who, and you just got on the topic of money. So here we go. We're opening up a new can of worms.
Open up the can.
Yeah. So when people like to say, well, I don't need that much to live. I don't need that much. It's not about you.
It's not about you.
Nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. And by the way, even if you want to give all of that away, Mother Teresa's her whole mission was funded. Funded by who? People with money. She still got to be Mother Teresa, but she aligned herself with people who could make money, and other people got behind her.
And her message, they got behind her message. And guess what? Yeah. Wealth, or having a system to compact influence and impact, having a vessel of which to steward impact, gives you options you didn't have by doing nothing. So I don't care if you want to give it all away, but don't judge the people that God told them to do this with their thing. It ain't your thing. Yeah. And that's fine. Go do what you want with your thing, but you better build something first before you have an opinion about my thing.
Options.
You better back off of what God told me to do, because like, you're not my Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? I already got one.
Yeah.
So back off, Gina, whatever. So we get really passionate about that. Why though? Why do we dig our heels in on this? Okay. And yes, we'll probably offend some people with this, but it's the truth. So sometimes the truth hurts sometimes because it's real. And if something's sharpening you right now, the Bible says that the word of God is alive and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword, dividing unto the soul and spirit. Mind, will, and emotions is your soul. So like, if you're feeling a little bit of sharpening right now, just like accept it, because it's probably God being like, hey, I'm just trying to talk to you about something. Hey, this may not be working for you. And so can I provide you an option that does? So just be open. And if you want to hate us forever, then great. You can unsubscribe. I will live,
Preach.
With that being said, I have another great segue. You ready for this?
Is the title of this podcast going to be It's Not About You?
It's supposed to be Power Couple Habits. And per usual, we veered this train into a different country. Not even the same, different track. It's just completely off the rails. No, this is good. This is what the Lord wants. You know what? I always believe that it happens. We started on the right track. I think we just completed that topic. We said everything that needed to be said, and then we were
actually, I have a really unique take on this, and I think it's important to highlight why we did get here.
Okay.
Not to money specifically, but to underlying reasons. The reasons people can't hold habits, or the reasons that they can't connect, or the reasons that they can't be motivated, is because of a disconnection to their purpose. So until you figure out what that is, you're going to find yourself consistently motivated. Otherwise, it's just going to be like your flesh motivating you to try and
say that,
grind it out every day.
Yeah. And you know
Like,
what? As long as you're disconnected from your purpose, you will rely on other people to motivate you or your emotions to dictate
yeah,
your actions.
yeah.
And that's not how it works. That's not how it
And
works.
sometimes your purpose for a season is getting out of where you are. Like
Mm,
I lived at a point, this is a pretty messed up part of my story, but there was a time where I quit my job right before I started Grindstone, and I was living in a cockroach infested apartment,
mhm.
like $500 a month. There was people outside my apartment front door across the street bench pressing in their lawn in wife beaters.
Wow.
Like, it doesn't get much more strange than that in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Wow.
And like my entire purpose, if you asked Landon at 2018, Landon, what his entire purpose was, is getting the heck out of this apartment complex and getting
Mm,
somewhere safe. Like, that's it. Sometimes that's all you need, but you have to have a purpose for that season, is what we're trying to get at. It doesn't have to be like your final one. Like, it, there's not one. There's probably multiple purposes that you'll go through in your life. It's just that you have to connect to what
mm.
it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And not everyone's called to be an entrepreneur, obviously, but everybody has a purpose and everybody has a voice and everybody has a message. And, you know, I'm just going to say this. I don't think that everyone's called to be a full-time entrepreneur, 100 millionaire, whatever. But I do believe that darn near anybody's message could be monetizable if you decided that that's something that you wanted for you. And I'm just going to shameless plug for a second. So if you are interested in this and you know that God's given you a message, or you're like, I feel like I've been through some stuff. I've never really like thought about it as me having a voice or a message or putting that together, but I'm intrigued at what you're talking about. And Megan and Landon, I want to live and speak with the kind of passion that you guys do. How do I do that? Well, I have an awesome free training. You guys can go to salesqueen.com/free training and see when the next masterclass is. It's a free training where I'll teach you exactly my system of how you can turn your message into something monetizable and basically take your skill set and turn it into automatic sales and customers that are paying you to basically tell your story, which is super
It's
cool.
good.
So, and this is something that after doing over 250 speeches myself and being on stage literally since I was 4 years old, singing for 5,000 people at Easter, I've put together my framework that's helped me get on podcasts and stages. And as you guys will see in 2023, some of the biggest stages literally in the country, that I'm really, really humbled and excited about. And I want to share all my secrets with you. So salesqueen.com/free training. Make sure you guys go grab that. And at this time, kind of closing, I'd love for Landon and myself just to kind of help you guys with some further next steps. So Landon, why don't you talk, just in case we have any videographers listening, a little bit about Creative Academy and how people can learn more there and follow you. And then let's kind of reveal our big announcement at the end.
Yeah, cool. So, as I mentioned, I coach creatives. We have a training program specifically developed for creatives, photographers, videographers who are looking to take their business to the next level. YouTube's really good at teaching you photo and teaching you editing and video and all that stuff. YouTube is usually really bad at teaching business if you don't know where to look. And so what we do is we have a tried and true system that I've actually developed over the course of the last 5 years, and basically created this system to solve my own problems. And we ended up using it to sell over $3.5 million worth of video projects in less than 4 years. And now we actually get to share that system with creatives all over the world. And it's one of the most fulfilling things in the world because I get to help people out of that gap or help them wherever they are because I've been there. Likely.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty rare where I run into a situation where I haven't been in their exact shoes. So that's
Yep.
creativeacademy.io, or you can just find me on Instagram at Landon R Rhodes.
He's blowing
And
up,
that's,
people. He's been blowing
yeah,
up lately.
it's like doing it's doing its thing. It's exciting to see the
He
growth
cares
and
for
how
five
hungry people.
seconds and grows like 3,000 followers in like a month. It's super annoying.
Yeah, I
But
literally.
copy what he does. Apparently it's working. So
Yeah, it's definitely working. I think it's connecting to the market to message, right? Or message to
yeah, come
market.
on. Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a need, and it's exciting because people are really, really taking a lot from it. And they're like, I got another message from one of our students today that's on pace to make 200K as a 24-year-old. And
Come on.
he's like, hey, I got this, I got another email from this massive $100 million agency. They want us to film one of their clients again. Like another day in the office. That's awesome.
Love it.
So that's a little bit about the Creative Academy and me. So
awesome, babe. Thanks. Okay. And drum roll. So the last thing that we want to tell you guys about that we're super excited about, and we just announced this on Facebook yesterday, so you might have seen it, but we'll give you a little bit more detail. So we're very excited. Lots of people, maybe I'm over exaggerating. Some people, I don't know a number, have been asking for more of, kind of fireside chats, Landon and Megan talks. And one thing that Landon and I love is just to pour into people, to have people in our home, to take people out to lunch. And, in a business capacity, fortunately or unfortunately, that would cost you tens of thousands of dollars to kind of get our personal time in that way. And so we wanted to make a lot of our keys, our strategies, our secrets available to you guys for free. And so we are launching a YouTube show. You guys will just be able to search Landon and Megan Rhodes. And we're very, very, very excited about that. Landon will also have his own spinoff show, and I'll have my own spinoff show that is way more about just the business aspect of things. And from my side of things, you guys are going to hear a lot more of what I'm doing with Sales Queen, which is the name of the podcast. So spoiler alert, we're very, very excited about that. And Landon and I are just so passionate about three things. We're passionate about strong marriages, strong faith, and helping people build wealth in the way that God's called them to by using their message and their purpose. And so we're going to have a lot more conversations like this. We're really, really excited about what God wants to do. And Landon and I have also launched a mastermind here in Omaha, and we'll have regular meetups and just fun events and things like that going on. So if you're ever in the Omaha area, please let us know or let our team know. And I'm sure you'll be able to find on either the links below here or on our Instagrams, kind of where the next thing is for you. And so, you guys can follow Landon and Megan Rhodes on YouTube, and you guys will be able to get exclusive, awesome content that is really practical and applicable. And we talk about real things. We're very passionate people, and we don't really hold back because we believe in helping people, and we know where we each were 5-10 years ago. And we want to help you get to the next levels of your life faster, quicker, better than we did.
Amen. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's wild how easy it is to talk about this stuff too. Yeah. Like, so natural. So it'll be a lot more of this business, every aspect of life, business, relationships, and Jesus.
Yep. And we're specifically excited because for the longest time, people asked me, like, how can you serve normal people like that aren't in pageants? And then obviously God had to bring my husband. And now for the podcast audience, this is y'all's first time ever hearing from Landon. In our Powerhouse Club community, you guys have heard from him, but we want to show people that we have a really strong and healthy marriage because we work at it and because we married the right person. Fun fact, makes it 98% easier. Don't marry a doofus. Don't marry the first person who says I love you. And we really don't pretend to know everything, but we surround ourselves with people that are pretty much like 55 and older. And we really like to glean from their wisdom. Yeah. Literally all of our friends are like retired. We just went to Israel with literally 198% people that were retired. There was one person our age.
48 people that were over.
Literally just balling and just like hanging out, for 2 weeks. And great. We're like stressed getting back to our companies. But yeah, we just want to like kind of open the curtain a little bit and just let you guys into the world of like, what are the conversations that we have? What are the qualifiers? Like, what are the standards that we set? And we want you guys to ask a bunch of questions. So even now listening to this podcast, I would love for you guys to DM me on Instagram at Megan Swanson Rhodes. Rhodes is Rhodes, by the way. And I'd love for you guys just to start kind of feeding me what topics you'd like to talk about when it comes to dating, relationships, marriage, faith, questions about business, questions about speaking, podcasts. How do I get started? We love talking about that stuff because that's basically like if you were just to turn a camera on of what it looks like when Landon and I talk at home, like that's what it looks like, you know?
It's like
so
this. It's just like this, actually.
Like, did we prepare for this? No, I literally was like, Landon, we're talking about habits.
Go to your office.
Let's make dinner. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We are 50 feet away from each other. Not even right now. He's in his office. So anyways, this is not a super sexy ending, but that's all we got. Thanks for listening to the podcast episode, y'all. Make sure you follow Landon. Look at everything in the show notes. We're probably gonna have like 17 directions because we got all this new fun stuff coming out. And with that, we will see you guys next week.